Welcome to the Interrogation True Crime Stories podcast. All the stories told on this show are either fabricated, alleged, or didn't happen at all and shouldn't be used in the court of law. We hope. Welcome to Interrogation True Crime Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Corey David, and got a surprise guest today. Wasn't expecting this.
Yeah.
Although was hoping for a hang, but you never know when people are passing through town or whatever. Zach Peterson.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Surprise.
Well, we wanted to get some fish and chips, or I wanted to get some fish and chips. Mm-hmm. How'd you feel about it?
It was fine.
Because you went chicken.
I went chicken.
Yeah.
I don't think fried fish is all that good.
No, but I thought, when we were in Alaska, wasn't that like you wanted to get fish and chips? You wanted crab legs.
I wanted crab legs, and then they're out of season, but I had them anyway, and they tasted like shit.
Yeah, because they're from the grocery store.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to set out to do, even though if it's stupid.
Yeah.
I can follow through.
I made up my mind already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're passing through town because you're doing like a 2-week little tour right now, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be like 3 weeks in total.
Yeah. I got a couple more. I got a few like little spots in Denver here, and then down to Trinidad, KC. Then I go home.
Yeah. Highlights of the trip?
Cloud Top was great. Dry Heat Comedy Club in Albuquerque was great. And then my girlfriend flying down to Santa Fe. We just hang out in a mountain. So
hang out in a mountain.
Yeah.
Like mole people.
Yeah, like a supervillain base.
Yeah. So you're from Omaha originally. Mm-hmm. And would you say that, like, what's crime like in Omaha? Is it a bad place? Is it just, it's fine? You know, you don't really have to worry about much there?
I very rarely feel in danger. I think crime is so overblown in terms of like what people are supposed to be afraid of. Mm-hmm. And I think crime is so low. It's like a historical lows for violent crime, right?
Yeah.
And very little. I mean, if you know not to put yourself in certain situations, then usually you're pretty good. In Omaha, I mean, you have to try to get into some bad situations to get into bad situations. It feels like.
But overall, like it's not like a heinous, like it's ridden by crime or anything.
No.
Or riddled, I should say.
No, I mean, there's crime because it's a million people in a fucking area, but I mean, I wouldn't call it crime ridden.
Okay. Now, when you were growing up, would you say you were a good kid, bad kid?
I was a terrible kid.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, terrible in the sense of were you committing crimes that actually hurt people, or were you just kind of an anxious, antsy kid?
I wasn't hurting people. I was vandalizing, stealing, drugs, smoking, like if I can...
Teenage shit?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, we're going to steal a bunch of lawn ornaments and then put them in our friend's yard,
Yeah. So nothing terrible, just kind of like, silly, funny things that really aren't hurting anybody.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of shoplifting, a lot of vandalism, but that's about it. I never hurt anyone.
Yeah. It was mostly just because I was in the same boat. It was like I grew up in the suburbs. The most dangerous thing in the neighborhood or our area was us, really.
Right.
And again, nothing violent. I never really got a kick out of beating people up or hurting anybody.
Yeah.
It was mostly just, egging houses, doing a little bit more than egging a house from time to time. But nothing that I think would be like, you're a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that sort of rebellious shit. And that's, we just went around the neighborhood trying to steal and break things.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's no good reason for it, but
it's
that's
fun. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
like when you're a teenager, it is fun. Like you don't have to apologize for being bored and that's the only rush that you have during the day.
Yeah, but there were people that I hung out with that were going beyond the pale.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And there's always those people like, yeah, I like smoking weed and cigarettes and drinking. And there's other people like, have you heard of meth? And like, no, I don't want to go that far. And the people that did go that far, Then they started hurting people and like, breaking into houses and stealing cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was like the sort of the line in the meth.
Yeah. There's a crystal line.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Exactly.
could see it very visibly. It was a shard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was us growing up. There was, and we always interacted with those folks and just a lot of crazy times back in the day. I think that I had enough drama and excitement in my late teens, early 20s to sort of scare me away from any sort of life of crime going forward.
Well, you start to take some ownership of your own of your behavior, right? And you start to actually feel bad about things.
Right.
I think that's probably the tipping point for some people is that you take some accountability for your behavior.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that the idea of being accountable in any way, shape, or form is so beyond them.
Right.
I think that's typically it.
Totally.
So the way we usually start the show out is I find dumb crimes on the internet, and then we just get to have a laugh at them before we get into Zach's story. But, I mean, the whole point of the show is just to remind everybody that just because you commit a crime doesn't mean you're a terrible person. We all do really dumb things from time to time.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that we can't have a laugh about it. Any of the stories that we aren't reading from the internet are fabricated, usually in some way, so that it can embellish the story a little, so that nobody can be held accountable for these particular crimes. I don't know if this is a legal statement or not, but I say it on every show just to cover my ass.
Sure.
So let's get into first story. Is the headline is Florida woman went shopping after stabbing roommates and thinking they were dead.
She needs to get a new knife.
Right. Is the one that she had dull, or was it dull before and that's how she figured out I could probably use a new knife set.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's all covered in roommate.
Yeah. You're not supposed to mix that with chicken. I've heard that. That's like the first rule of working in a kitchen.
Yeah. That sanitized my knife now.
I think that's called cross-contamination, which is a big no-no because somebody could be allergic to human flesh.
Yeah.
That would be a crazy way to find out that somebody had killed someone, is that like you ask for a manager, you're like, excuse me, I have a pretty rare allergy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come up very often, but I am breaking out into hives. I have a suspicion that
someone in the kitchen is murdering people.
Because like when you get that, I don't know if you ever had this when you were a kid, but they give you shots of different things on your arm.
Yep. Yeah.
And then one of them was human.
Yeah, sure.
It was another person.
Skin to skin contact.
But also, I'm curious about, like, if she did go to buy new knives, that it's unfortunately just not, to me, responsible behavior. You would go get them sharpened at, like, the farmer's market.
Right. Well, I mean, did she realize maybe she needed, like, stuff to dispose of the body?
Well, that's the other part. Did she not plan? This must have just been out of rage. And maybe she went to go get shopping supplies, like, I know I should have thought Monday morning quarterback, but I should have thought about garbage bags, some gloves, some bleach,
Dexter, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a really good way to cover your ass for going to third or second degree murder instead of first degree murder. Like, listen, I didn't plan at all. I didn't have anything. I had to go to the store.
Yeah, that's the way you get out of it. You're like, listen, I didn't. This just kind of happened, you know, in the throes of passion. It's a foreplay, role-playing situation that went a little too far. So Adam stated she retrieved a large knife and then attacked both victims, stabbing them multiple times. Adam stated after she believed the victims were deceased, she attempted to destroy evidence and then left the location. But I do appreciate that this is the kind of lady that likes to run errands and does them in a timely fashion.
Sure.
So she's like, okay, I'm going to kill these guys, but I still have to run to Target.
She has a to-do list.
Yeah, it was on the list.
You got to do it. You got to cross it off. I can't put it on and not cross it off.
I'm a very strict regimen for my schedule. Once it's in the calendar.
Exactly. Should I murder my neighbors and then go get trash bags? Or should I get trash bags and then murder my neighbors?
So really the only crime here was it was just a wrong sequence of order.
Yeah, poor time management on her part.
Poor time management.
It's a life skill.
Indeed. All right. Next up, we've got bum deal. Supplier hid eye-watering amounts of drugs in his anus. Leeds Crown Court hears a drug dealer who was found with an eye. I don't know why they keep saying eye-watering. They use it twice. An eye-watering 83 wraps of drugs in his anus has been jailed. So what's the? First of all, what do you want to guess? What drug it is?
I want to say pharmaceuticals.
Good guess. We don't have. All right, so let's see. It was only when officers spotted that Ikram Khan had Vaseline on his fingers did they suspect that he had secreted illegal substances. So they haven't even really said what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Found it. We've got. So you're going pharmaceuticals?
Yeah.
Okay, so close. 28 packs of heroin.
That was my second guess.
55 packs of crack cocaine.
Oh, multitasking.
Well, they hold different values. Different values and different sizes.
Diversify your portfolio and diversify your ass.
Yeah, you can't be holding on to too much of one stock.
Right.
Yeah, because otherwise, what a wasted opportunity.
There has to be a point where he's just like, you know what? I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. I'll put as much stuff as my ass. I am good at shoving things up my ass. I got 83. Can anyone beat that? It's probably an ego thing for him.
I know we like to all think that we could pick our superpower. If that day were to ever arise, you're just the guy, that's your skill. You have nothing else to contribute into life. You're like, okay, listen, guys, I know I've been using this for drugs, but I could really shove anything up here. Do you want to go on a picnic?
I don't pay for a carry-on ever.
I packed us a lunch.
Yeah. We're going on a picnic. Where's the basket? Don't worry. I got a salami. I got a bottle of wine.
I might need a little help. This handle's getting stuck.
Did you have to pack a picnic basket? Yeah. It's the basket's in there too.
I'm a gentleman. Yeah, I want to take you out to a nice date.
You think he brags about it to his friends? It's like, I can shove more things up my ass.
Well, he couldn't have been the only one doing this, right?
Yeah.
So my line of thinking is that this had to have been a competition at some point. There's a guy, so if this is 83 individual packages of different drugs, he probably got to 80.
Yeah.
As a round number. Yeah, and then they were like, you think you can go 3 more? And he's fuck yeah, bro.
I wish they had a journal, his journal of sort of his self-discovery. Because maybe it's me, maybe that's my own preconceived notion of hardened criminals being sort of have that toxic masculinity, but sort of discovering his own ass and the ability of his own ass and just being like, you know what? I've discovered a new part of myself.
Yeah.
I can shove things in my ass. You know what? It's not bad.
Yeah. Also, what if he actually enjoyed something going up his ass, which you're completely in bounds to do, but was still so insecure that he was just unwilling to be like, no, I figured this part out, but I still don't want to tell anybody I'm gay.
It's like, are you shoving things up your ass? Yeah, but it's drugs. It's for crime.
It's for profit.
Yeah. He's like, are you sure you just don't like shoving things up your ass? Does it matter?
Yeah, listen, I'm a part of a very important cartel. All right?
Yeah.
You can't talk to me like that.
He just does it for the love of the game.
Yeah, so have you ever obviously, unless you have you've never smuggled anything up your ass in between your butt cheeks?
No.
Okay. Have you snuck drugs into any place?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
I've brought edibles, and I've brought some acid with me on a plane one time.
Acid has to be pretty easy to get on
I would think so. Granted, I haven't done that a lot of times or anything, but it's just a couple pieces of paper wrapped in tin foil, throw it in a medicine bottle or whatever.
Yeah.
And no harm, no foul
for
the most part. I don't know if there's a lot of drug dogs that are just it smells like a hippie over here. I can taste the chemicals on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, Acid doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about acid. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in large quantities, but a couple of like tiny pieces of paper.
I mean, I got some. We can smell it after the show.
Oh, okay.
See,
Uh-oh.
see if and the whole tab just goes up your nose.
I got an appointment with God tonight. Let me get back to the hotel room.
Yeah,
real
I know
quick.
you said you didn't have any plans tonight, but you just made some. Mm-hmm. So have you ever like smugged drugs into a concert or anything?
No. I've done on my plane. Just put some edibles or like some dissolving pills in a pill bottle, and but that's about it.
I love that's become more acceptable too. That you can just like throw some weed or throw an edible or a vape pen or something in your bag, and you're like, I don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, and also a lot of times with places I'm traveling from Nebraska, it's easier to get drugs there because it's not Nebraska.
Yeah. This is literally, it's infinitely better no matter where I go.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we got one more. Mexico's Jalisco cartel allegedly kills 2 lucha libre wrestlers. So is wrestling still fake?
I don't know. Murder isn't. And no one's ever like gunned someone down, as a finishing move.
Yeah, that seems like it's like bad improv where your only final move is to shoot the guy.
Yeah, the Undertaker has the tombstone, and and then Jake
power
the
bombs.
DDT, and then just like some dude just whips out a gun.
Nothing creative about it.
Yeah, it's called burying you in the desert.
Well, I thought the headline was really funny in the sense of they are specific about it being lucha libre wrestlers, and there's something about real pain coming, a real travesty coming to somebody that pretends to fight that I found pretty amusing.
Yeah.
Because lucha libre wrestlers are held in like pretty high esteem in Mexico.
Yeah.
So this must be like a blow to the community.
If I've learned anything from watching Nacho Libre, that's true.
Yeah, that's your only reference?
That's my only reference. Yeah. Either that or Mountain Goat Records. That's it.
Yeah, that's all you know. Well, I was a huge fan of Rey Mysterio when I was a kid, so I was very happy to read that it wasn't him, because I thought my childhood would be crushed. But I wonder if while this whole altercation was happening, did they, by any chance, do wrestling moves, or at this point, do you fight? Like, because if it's a tag team, it seems as though they would have the upper hand.
Yeah. I mean, what terrible refs to allow guns in the ring.
A chair. This wasn't a hardcore match.
Yeah. It's like, in this corner, the Texas Tornado and the Lucha Libre man. I don't know. I'm not going to come up with names right now. I got so much stuff going on. In this another corner, the cartel.
It's Maramoto and Tidal Wave.
Oh, Tidal Wave. Okay, nice. Miramoto and Tidal Wave.
Not enough of a wave to walk a gun out of somebody's hands.
Versus the cartels. And they have a pretty lethal tag team.
Also, how much shit must you have been talking? Because wrestlers, like a lot of times, that's part of the game, is you be the heel. And then you just set it to the wrong guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Did they talk about why they were killed? Like what they do? Did they snitch? Did they just disrespect them?
Let's see.
Did they pile drive them?
We'll do a quick scan. So local professional wrestling promoters planned a match, citing the death of and they canceled it. These guys were just found in a dumpster. So off the top rope. They were abducted over the weekend. Photos circulated on social media of a banner signed by them that was found near one of the bodies. It doesn't seem like there's any that's the thing with cartels is it doesn't seem like there's a lot of answers.
Oh, they kill people.
Yeah, well, in the sense of nobody asks a lot of questions either.
Right. It's never going to be justified. It's like, that was a reasonable response.
Yeah, because there's nothing particularly in here that says anything about what could have happened. Mexican authorities announced they captured a suspected leader. But that's really, the article kind of just gets into these people were dead. This is why it's more of a news story than any other, because they were two popular wrestlers. And then it just gets into how shitty cartels are.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right.
Too bad for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so let's get into your story a little bit.
I murdered a couple of wrestlers.
Yeah. So, of all the people that are running the Omaha contingent of the Jalisco cartel, you wouldn't have been my first pick, but that's usually how they go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's the one you'd least suspect.
Hide in plain sight. Okay, so I'm going to tell a story now? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, back in the early 2000s, I owned a home in Nebraska. We talked about it's not like a real crime-ridden place, but there's definitely crime. And it was an area that wasn't great. The area was fine, but we had a couple of neighbors who were just fucking plain shitheads.
Now, when you bought the house?
Yes.
And what made you buy the house there? Did you already know it was kind of a cruddy area?
It was, it was in, the quote-unquote up-and-coming neighborhood.
More dicey, and why did you pick that spot?
I mean, it was just I was familiar with the neighborhood. It's not a terrible neighborhood. It wasn't like, terrible things were happening all the time. The things that were happening, I know exactly who were doing it. But that's what makes a bad neighborhood. It's just shitheads.
It's individuals.
Yeah.
That are being reckless.
There's just a couple of really bad houses across the street. One was this severe alcoholic mother who had 20 kids run around at all times, and they would just get in our shit and just whatever, and they were getting to be like teenagers, so they were like us, just being sort of rascals. And then next was next to them was just sort of this much more severe and laid back contingency of folks that were very shady. And, less problems with them outright, but you knew something was up.
Now, what kind of interactions did you have with these people on a personal level? Did you ever talk to them? Just, hey, neighbor, what's up?
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Stuff like that. And then they said something about, I had a wife at the time, and they said something mean to her, and she went off on them, and or something. I forget exactly, and then after that, we started sort of getting a little bit of interesting attention.
Okay.
We were
you became a mark.
Yeah, or something. I would find people I would find people trying to get into my car, or I would find people in my backyard.
But it just happened all of a sudden you noticed a difference after that incident.
Yeah, people trying to get into my garage and stuff like that. And then, the dog going crazy because people are trying to get in my house and just sort of and then people seeing us and just giving us dirty looks and stuff.
Now, are you, when you notice people trying to get into your car in your garage, I imagine you with a double barrel shotgun just stepping out onto the porch.
I mean, I had a bat.
Yeah.
And my neighbor whose dog was also going crazy came out with a pistol. And we were and I was really high, and it was a really bad experience, because someone's trying to break into your house, and you're stoned
and you're baked, yeah.
Yeah, God, and then just so you run around with a thing, but that's not even the story. That's just one of the things that happened.
Sure.
And then, and then there's a certain amount of paranoia that sets in when people are fucking with your house.
Yeah.
And so it's
supposed to be your house. That's
exactly.
Where you're supposed to feel comfortable and safe.
Exactly. So I remember it was a Sunday because I was watching football, and I heard outside. I look outside. 2 dudes are with shotguns shooting at someone.
What?
Yeah. And so I'm
and was part of you thank God it's not my house?
Yeah. Well, I was and it wasn't the neighbors with all the kids. It was the more seemed clandestine neighbors who would talk shit and weren't sort of cahoots and whatever with the all the neighbor kids.
Yeah. So the unruly bunch that's unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I see people shooting at each other with shotguns and stuff. So I call the police, right? Mm-hmm. And you would think that that's the right move, but I don't. But now looking back on it, it wasn't. Because I'm hey, there's people in the streets shooting at whatever. There's an active shooter.
It seems like the right move,
right?
I would think.
There's multiple active shooters right now with shotguns. And I'm I don't like this. Mm-hmm. And they're and then they go, okay, well, who's calling? I don't want to tell you that. What's your address? I don't want to tell you that.
Yeah.
I don't
want to give you any leading information that might come back to me.
Exactly. When they go, we're not coming unless you tell me. And it's like, all right, like, what?
Yeah. What happened to an anonymous tip?
So I had to tell them, or else they wouldn't come. You know,
Okay.
they wouldn't deal with active shooters unless I told them.
Yeah.
So I did, and they interviewed me and stuff, and the SWAT team came, and all this other shit. And
They knocked on your door first, and they're like, "Is this the person that called us?" And they say it very loudly.
They came to me later. Yeah, across the street from the house that was like being fucking. They had a, that had like that was boarded up, and then so like then we were like, fuck. Well, they knew that it was us, but do they know it was us?
Well, now all of a sudden you're in your head like
Yeah.
crazy. But wouldn't they have talked to any of the other neighbors? Like they wouldn't have just picked you,
well,
right?
see, that was the sort of plausible deniability that I would think, like, it wasn't specifically us. They don't know. And also, how could we have been the only people that called the cops?
Yeah.
Right?
Unless you were the only loser on the block. You were like, let
Right.
these guys just duke it out.
Yeah.
We don't have any snitches.
People shooting each other in the street. That's
Yeah.
whatever.
This is just people settling an argument, Old West style.
So I, like 2 weeks passed. Like we were out of our house for a little bit after that. Like we were like, I want to take a break from that house. Mm-hmm. Then we got a thing in the mail, a court summons in the mail with our name in the first paragraph. That was the court documents that were like going against the folks that were shooting. So there's what turned out to be a trap house across the street from me.
And those are the quiet folks.
And they're the quiet folks.
Which makes sense.
Turned out to be active shooters. They were active shooters and trap house. They have my name, my address, and I am now...
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so I moved.
Yeah, I can see that. But you stayed in Omaha.
Oh, yeah, for another year.
Okay.
But we just we had to change our address. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, when you're sort of put into this, it felt like we were put into a target of a trap house across the street that, that fucking literally were shooting shotguns at people.
Why would they? Do you have any idea why they like named you in the court document?
Because I was the complaint.
But isn't that the whole point? Is supposed to be like keep people like not like if it's just an anonymous tip. I know you said you had to give your name. But
Yeah.
I guess I just don't see the reason why they would say like, well, these are the people that called us. Because what if you were just like you drove by or something? It seems like you wouldn't have to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
So you did have to go to court for this.
No, they settled out of court.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
nice better. I didn't have to go to court, but I was just like, I'm not fucking living next to these people now who are now going to blame me for them going to prison.
You could have just stayed at the same place and changed your name.
Yeah, that would have right.
That probably would have made it a lot easier.
Is this Zach Peterson? No, this is Jack Zeterson.
Tidal wave.
Yeah, this is tidal wave. But yeah, like, I mean, like in terms of the folks across the street, whatever. I'm not like, I don't have any ill will towards them. They're fucking doing whatever, and like I don't give a shit that you're fucking dealing drugs. Just don't shoot guns out of my house. But also, like I am quite, I'm pretty not thrilled about the police.
No.
Sort of putting me in a situation and putting my name right there. That's just irresponsible.
Agreed. Yeah. Like if the complaint itself involved violence with firearms,
Right.
And you're like, hey, we didn't even know about this at all, but this
Yeah.
helpful citizen right across the street from you
Right.
gave us the heads up.
Man, I mean, like it seems like I'm never the dude that's like I want to call the cops on someone. I'm
No.
never that dude. And so when you do, you're like, like it's a last ditch effort, and then you do, and like you literally have to move because of the actions of the people supposed to protect you. It's fucking pisses you off.
Oh man, was that the first time you didn't trust the police?
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's just. But at the same time, he's like, what do you do? I mean, what do you do in this situation? Fucking active shooters. What do you do?
Yes. Was there any fallout that ever came of this?
No, I moved pretty quick.
Right, but I just didn't know if maybe you never know. I mean, you said Omaha is a pretty big metropolis.
Yeah.
But if you did you ever see these people again or anything?
I saw a kid that was across the street. I saw him every once in a while, but I don't think they'd recognize me anymore.
Yeah, they're all Harvard scholars now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, and the thing was, like, it was such like a uneasy peace with the people around us.
Yeah, because I mean, you're just existing together. Mm-hmm. You probably are just ambitious about like, hey, was this your first home?
Yes.
Yeah, you just want to like It's our first home.
Yeah.
Everybody, we don't have to be best friends, but we all coexist together.
And they park in my driveway and shit.
Yeah.
Was
that okay?
No. Like, I can't get my car out. You parked in my driveway.
Well, I didn't know if you guys had like an agreement kind of thing of like, hey, you know, if you need a spot,
I
just
didn't know
take
any
it.
of these people.
But well, fuck these people, Zach.
But I mean, and that was the thing. Like, they would like have, like, in a snowstorm, there'd be a person that would come over and they would tie a dog to the truck. And the dog would just be in the truck or like in the bed of the truck all day barking. And like they didn't feed it. They didn't do anything. They just like tied it to a truck. And then now we have this weird, wild like dog. Who knows? Probably not a great behaved dog. It's been treated like shit.
No, not so much.
Yeah. And like, you know, just sort of wandering our house with no one looking out after it. And it's like, well, this fucking sucks.
Right. Everything about their situation. It's like we were talking about before. At a certain point, somebody just doesn't want to have any accountability for their own actions.
Yeah.
And that's usually what it comes down to.
Well, I mean, it was just like, it was such an easy piece, and then it finally boiled over, and it's just like, well, I guess we got to go. Because we didn't want to go. This is my first
was it
house.
a nice house?
It was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought it during the crash of 2008, right? And like, I bought it for, it was like 1,000 square foot house, like wood floors, really beautiful woodwork, backyard, garage. You know,
I mean, it's really how a horror movie would actually play out.
Right.
Right. You move into a house and then the neighborhood or the street is haunted by demons, you know, that ruin your life and threaten your livelihood.
Yeah. It was fucking real weird.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. There's more. It seems like a different life, but Jesus Christ, that was a fucking real stressful time.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it, especially because how long into owning the house did you guys end up having to move?
3 years.
Oh, okay. So you'd been there for a minute.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make, I mean, I don't know if it would be easier if like you just got it and you're like, we got to go. Or if, you know, you've built an attachment to this place and now that seems like it would be worse.
I just redid the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, put in a new toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And
just beholding the crown molding that you'd just done.
Man, and I got to sell it. I made $250 on the house. You know what I mean? Like people were like, I'm going to flip this house. Like, well, I'm going to put like $10,000 in the interior and then make $250 on it.
After patching up the blowholes.
Yeah. God.
Have you ever been in any other situations where you had like a gun pulled on you or anything?
Yeah.
Okay. I was doing a comedy show. It was when we were doing outdoor comedy shows during COVID. And we were running a show in Lakewood, and there was some domestic dispute that was kind of going on in the parking lot, like across the way in front of like a Planet Fitness, because, you know, this is what we were doing at the time. And we noticed that we were kind of keeping our eye on it, but then at one point in time, the guy picks the girl up and then brings her around the corner of the building so that we can't see what's going on.
Yikes.
Yeah, not great. So then me and some other guy that I don't know run over there, and for one reason or another, the guy that I'm with grabs like a rock that's in like a little rock bed by the building or whatever. And we get over there, and I notice this dude's friend goes to the car. And I said, hey, man, put down the rock. Dude definitely just went to go grab a gun.
Yeah.
And he sure did. And then so the dude that was involved with the domestic dispute is like pointing the gun like right at me. We're kind of going back and forth, and he's just like, get the fuck out of here. You guys don't have anything to do with this. I'm like, totally understand, man. It's your business. But you got to understand, when you brought her behind the building, like we had to come over and do something or say something to make sure she was okay. Right. And he's still pointing the gun at me. He goes, yeah, well, the fuck's up with the dude with the rock? And I'm just like, hey, bud, I'm going to go ahead and let you know we didn't plan that. Like, I didn't tell him, like, you grab a rock, I'm going to get this syringe next to the Prius.
Right.
And we're going to fucking rabble on these fools, you know? The whole thing wound up, like, somebody had called the police, and they heard the sirens, and they got out of there. But that's the only time I've ever had, like, a gun pulled on me.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
No.
But I was actually kind of impressed with myself with how like I didn't just like cower in fear.
Yeah, who knows? It's a fight or flight sort of situation.
Well, yeah, I think in my brain I just didn't think that like turning and running would be good either. Mm-hmm. So like if I'm gonna get shot, I might as well try to diffuse the situation first.
Yeah.
Instead of just like running like a bat out of hell, especially in an open parking lot. Like I didn't have a lot of places to go.
No, run a zigzag. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Serpentine.
But to sort of give you a better idea of like the sort of the paranoia that was instilled into that house is I slept on the couch one night and I was stoned. You know, I like weed. Whatever. Get off my back.
It's a running theme.
Yeah. And you know, and it's in the middle of all of this where like I keep finding people trying to break into my house, my car, or my garage. And then I wake up to a loud glass crash, right? And I thought, oh fuck, they broke the back window to the thing. Someone's in the house. So like not only the days from being stoned and just waking up. So like it's all emotion. It's all instinct at this point. So I started screaming and running to the back of the house to go fight them.
Like a high-pitched scream or like a okay, all right.
Like I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like I started like screaming that and I started running to the back of the house. And then I get to the back of the house and a big old spice rack fell. Like it was like this mounted spice rack full of spices and oils and everything, and just fell off the wall.
And I'm about to kill this spice rack.
Yeah, so I'm just like all adrenaline. I'm like, ah! And then like, you know, I get there. I'm like, oh, well, all right. And then it turns out.
Apologies to the neighbors.
Yeah, my wife at the time was like in the closet on the phone with the police.
So she heard the same thing?
Yeah. And she heard a crash and then a scream.
And it was just you basically reorganizing the spice can.
Yeah. And then she's on the phone like, hey, you know, like someone killed my husband.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you confirm? No, I didn't go look at all. No.
But she's like literally in the back of the closet. You know, just like hiding. And I'm like, hey, like I go upstairs. So I knew I probably woke her up. And I'm like, hey, hello. And they hear like a hi from the closet. And yeah, she was on the phone with the police. Like, someone broke into my house and stuff.
You're like, no, honey, we just got to go buy some new thyme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe some dill and parsley.
You help me sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
It's really messy out here. I could use an extra set of hands. Not for blood, but for chili powder.
Well, it's just, I mean, like if you're in a bad spot and you don't feel safe in your own house, it like completely rewires your brain.
Yeah. You can't help but overthink every little thing that happens and just be on high alert and be afraid of what could be coming.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm sorry you went through that. But you're in a better place now.
Far better.
You're in a pretty dope house. I've been there before. It's really fun. Mm-hmm. But thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate your
Thanks for having me.
And your admission to being a narc more than anything. I told you could be involved. I told Zach, like, it doesn't have to be a crime you committed. It could just be, you know, where the police were involved. And it was traumatic.
Yeah.
But you're still a snitch. So,
well, I mean, if fucking calling the police on an active shooter is a snitch, then call me a snitch, man. That's the one. Like, I mean, I've let a lot of shit go. You know what I mean? But that is not one of them.
I would never say that. I never actually mean that you are.
Yeah, like I see someone with a gun, I'm like, I'm gonna let that guy do his thing.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Like,
If what I've gathered from you at this point is just you're like, all right, they're fine. Yeah, I don't need to get involved with this.
Exactly.
But when there's bullets involved, it just changes the dynamic.
Exactly.
Plug all your social medias for us.
On Instagram, on Twitter is Mr. Zach Peterson. On Instagram is King of the River Peterson. Go to museumofuglyfathers.com. That's my website. That's where all my dates are. And then go listen to No Coast Comedy Club, my podcast, Run Holy Blitz, my football podcast. That is the worst football podcast you can ever hear about. So listen to it and prove me wrong.
I really do love the podcast that you do that where, you know, because the premise is essentially you're interviewing comics from all over the country that are on the road and maybe some places that are less characteristic of being like, you know, LA and New York and all that stuff. So it's really enjoyable listening.
Yeah, I'm trying to find people that love comedy but aren't doing it the way way we're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Because there is the blueprint of like, go to a mid-market, go to a major market, and you do these things, and that's how you rise above the ranks. Well, what if you can't? Or what if you don't want to? How do we make something that we love as a life?
Yeah, how do we make this work?
Yeah, and that's the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you enjoy the show, go follow us at Interrogation True Crime on Instagram and TikTok. You can follow me personally at Fake Corey David on Instagram and TikTok. Go to CoreyDavid.com for all of my upcoming tour dates. And, yeah, man, thanks for joining the show. It's
Thanks
great
for
to see
having me, dude. It was great.
You got it, bro.